Gentlemen, let's start at the top here with the reigning national champions, Georgia. They get UT Martin to kick off their three-peat campaign. New QB1 Carson Beck gets his first start here. What do you need to see from Beck in game one, BMAC?
Just smart football, efficient football. I think that was the thing that kind of, catapulted Stetson Bennett last year, of course, the last 2 years. Just his efficiency being with the football and not providing timely turnovers. And I think that's the most important thing for Carson Beck, because when you factor in what they have on their offense, possibly more weapons than what they had a year ago. Also one of the best tight ends that we've seen in college football in probably the last decade or so. And I understand Kyle Pitts played at the University of Florida, but man, Brock Bowers might be a little bit better when you talk about overall tight end production. So when you factor all of that into the equation, just be smart with the football, man. Put your glasses on. You don't need to put your cape on. You don't need to play hero-like football. Utilize the outstanding, talented top prospects they have surrounding him to do what they've been doing over the last 2+ years.
Yeah, it's all about the vertical passing game for me. Kirby Smart bragged a lot after last year about how they did not go into the transfer portal for that national championship team. Well, boy, they did this year. Just, go and pluck Missouri's leading receiver. Just go and pluck Mississippi State's leading receiver. An embarrassment of riches when you are the Georgia Bulldogs. But in particular, I want to talk about that player from Missouri, Dominic Lovett. All we're hearing from camp is that Dom Lovett has had a terrific fall camp, and he's going to be a big part of the downfield passing attack. I, too, think that this downfield passing attack with Carson Beck at the helm could be better than Georgia was last year. Now, they've suffered some injuries at running back. We're still trying to work out that rotation as well. We'll see how much they're actually going to show from an X's and O's perspective. But when it is that time for you to face the very few third and long scenarios that Carson Beck will face, let's see him move the ball down the field, because that's one place where I think Georgia this year could be improved.
And the win this week will give Georgia a new program record, breaking the 17 straight wins they recorded between 1945 and 1947. All right, our coverage of the Big Ten on CBS gets underway Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as we bring you Ohio State at Indiana. We're still waiting for Ryan Day to pick a starting quarterback at Ohio State, and he says he will use a two-quarterback system for at least the opener against Indiana. Chip, how concerned are you that Day has yet to pick one of these guys?
I'm mildly concerned. The only thing that I could spin this that would make it optimistic is the idea that they believe that Kyle McCord still has another level to get to before he's able to be at a championship level, because they know Ryan Day and this Ohio State program, after coming so close 1 year ago in the college football playoff, one kick away from playing for it all, that they have those kinds of national championship aspirations. I believe that Kyle McCord, probably, even if he hasn't met those championship expectations, with this offense, could go out and win a Big Ten title, but they want more. The optimistic side of this is that Kyle McCord is good enough to beat Indiana, that he's good enough to beat most of the teams on Ohio State's schedule, but that they want him to take the next step, and that Devin Brown is going to push him there. Now, the pessimistic side of this is, oh no, why has Kyle McCord not won this job? He's the high school teammate of Marvin Harrison Jr. He set all kinds of records in Pennsylvania. Why has he not been able to take the QB1 reins? We'll really get to see when both quarterbacks play against Indiana, but either Kyle McCord is very good and they want him to be great, or we should have real concerns about whether Ohio State has championship-level quarterbacking under center.
All right, so that's the QB situation at Ohio State as we kind of wait to see who wins that battle. But BMAC, Alabama, the fourth-ranked team in the country, taking on Middle Tennessee in their Week 1 opener. What about their quarterback situation at this point?
Well, I have some concerns as well, because they have yet to name who the starting quarterback will be. Clearly, it's been a close race throughout training camp, getting ready for the upcoming ball game against Middle Tennessee. And with that being said, if it's a close race, I think it's safe to say they're probably going to go with maybe Jalen Milroe. You talk about his ties just being with that university for quite some time, playing sparingly a year ago when Bryce Young was out with an injury. He showcased some nice things here or there, but he has to become more accurate with the football and throwing. That was an Achilles heel for his game last year, was the inability to hit timely throws. He's a big-time athlete at the quarterback position, probably one of the biggest runners, best runners they've had at that position in quite some time, but he has to rely on his arm throughout a four-quarter ball game. So hearing that it's been a close race, I expect to see Jalen Milroe against Middle Tennessee. But I can tell you this much: if he struggles against Middle Tennessee, it might be a quarterback change week 2 when they travel to Austin to play against the Longhorns.
Bama 39-point favorites as of Monday as they head towards that week 1 game. Elsewhere, let's go back to the Big Ten. Michigan begin defense of their conference title without head coach Jim Harbaugh. He's suspended for the first 3 games. Remember, they get East Carolina. They are 36-point favorites as of Monday. 4 Michigan assistants will see them through this suspension, and that should be enough to get them past East Carolina, right, Chip?
Yes. I mean, Michigan is going to absolutely roll in this position, and it's really about not necessarily who's not going to be there in Jim Harbaugh. It's who is going to be there in terms of so many of the key players from last year's Big Ten championship run. The returning production for this group is absolutely tremendous, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where you've got Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, the best 1-2 punch at running back, maybe in the entire country. So they're just going to be able to line up and mash on this ECU team. And look, while there might be haunts and spirits of an Appalachian State team coming to the Big House in week 1, this ECU group is nowhere along the same level. They lost a lot from last year's bowl team. So I'm looking at Michigan. Heck, BMAC, they might even run the spring game offense and be able to win this thing by 40. I think Michigan covers. I think they win easily.
I'm right there with you. I have no concerns with Coach Harbaugh not being on the sideline in this ball game. As you mentioned, this team is loaded with talent. Chip, I think it's safe to say the Wolverines, when you look at both sides of the football, they're the most talented team in their conference. And that's no knock on the other teams, especially Ohio State, but that's just high praise I have for Michigan in regards to the talent they've been able to add, not to mention the experience with those said talented players. So I like them in this spot. Heck, I think me, Jeremy, and you, Chip, we could probably coach this team to probably like a 30-point victory in this matchup against ECU, because this team, man, is talented. If they stay the course, I understand they will be missing their head coach for the first 4 ball games, but if they stay the course, man, they can do some real big things throughout the regular season and, finally potentially have some success in the postseason, something that Coach Harbaugh has not been able to do.
BMAC, you overestimate my football coaching abilities at this point. Harbaugh's going to miss East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. All right, let's talk about a couple of these ranked teams. Number 6 USC and 13 Notre Dame, both impressive in week 0, as was the quarterback play from both teams. The Irish and Sam Hartman get Tennessee State this week. Caleb Williams and USC get Nevada. BMAC, who impressed you more in week 1, the Irish or the Trojans?
I'll go Notre Dame. And the reason why I'm going with the Irish is because they have a new quarterback in Sam Hartman. Now, being a former Florida State Seminole, I watched him throughout his time at Wake Forest, and he can throw the football. But on a national stage, people might not have really, they might not be aware of the type of talent he is in regards to throwing the football. But also going into a new system, learning a new playbook, being able to learn new players around you on the offensive end and establish the chemistry instantly was the most surprising thing that I saw, not to mention his leadership. That's the thing about playing the quarterback position. It is the most important position on the football field, but it is a leadership position as well. And he showcased the ability to be a leader while at Wake Forest, and he instantly has provided that impact for them so far in 1 week of play. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. And they scored 42 points. They covered the 20 points easily. But Chip, as you stated off record, they could have easily scored another 21 points or so based on some mishaps that happened throughout that 4-quarter ball game against Navy.
Yeah, 100%. 5 possessions, 5 touchdowns. I mean, Notre Dame is going to line up and bully almost everybody on their schedule. Like, does Notre Dame have some teams where they are going to have more resistance in terms of the opposing defensive line? Yes, but they could just go out there and run Audric Estime downhill, straight at you, down an opponent's throat, and be able to get to 8-4. And I think that Sam Hartman, what he showed in this game, 4 touchdown passes, he can take them up. This could be a 10-win team. And I'm also saying Notre Dame because USC did not impress me defensively in the first half. They locked it down against San Jose State once you got into the 3rd and 4th quarter. They got more tackles for loss. They tightened it up. But some of the same stuff that we've seen in terms of being able to contain a mobile quarterback, the arm tackles in the open field, a lot of my criticisms for USC's defense, copy and paste from 2022 to 2023. USC has got to tighten it up. Much more complete performance from Notre Dame. So I agree, Notre Dame was the more impressive team.
Hey, Chip, you can basically copy and paste when Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma, some of the defensive woes that we saw there with him and Alex Grinch, because that's what we're seeing currently with USC, and we saw that a year ago as well.
100%.
All right, well, the one ranked-on-ranked game in Week 1 is a good one, as 5 LSU goes to Orlando to face 8 Florida State. The Seminoles beat the Tigers by a point last year after blocking a game-tying extra point at the death. We saw that in a sizzle piece off the top. BMAC, who is this game more important for?
Wow, that's a great question. I think it's Florida State for me. I think both teams could afford to lose and still find their way back in the playoff conversation. But in regards to Florida State, just trying to get back to that national stage where they're considered a national contender, not to mention all the quality players that returned from that double-digit win team a year ago, led by Jordan Travis there. I think it's important to Florida State because they're coming into this ball game with a lot of high expectations, and deserving so because of how well they played last year, the balance on both sides of the football field, and like I said, the players. This team is loaded with talent. This game is in their home state. They went on the road a year ago against LSU, surprised a lot of people with the way they played and finding a way to win this ball game. But this year, it's not about surprising people. It's about proving them right. And people feel like the talent, the coaching, everything is in place for Florida State to get back to that national title hunt. Nothing we haven't seen. We haven't seen this, since 2013. So me personally, I think because of the expectations, I'll go with the Florida State Seminoles.
Yeah, Florida State's got a brutal early season schedule. They've got to play at Clemson in week 4. To be able to get a win here is so important for being able to establish what you want to have for a really special season. I mean, there's another scenario where Florida State loses to LSU, loses to Clemson. All of a sudden you're 2-2. And while you haven't had any bad losses on your resume, you still are playing yourself out of the college football playoff picture. A massive, massive game. LSU's got some more manageable games coming up after this. This is where, if you are Mike Norvell, the ability to start fast is going to be crucial to your pursuit of an ACC championship and to your pursuit of a college football playoff appearance. Big game for Florida State, and big game for the ACC, which has 2 top 10 teams, but may not be looked at the same way if Florida State doesn't look like they belong on the same field as LSU. Fascinating standalone Sunday night game. Woo! Jeremy, BMAC, I can't wait.
Yeah, Tigers favored by 2.5 points as of Monday. And Florida State does not have a good recent record against other ranked opponents, so it's set to be a good one on Monday night.